Today, my educational, which I will try to keep a little bit shorter than 15 minutes, so we have a little bit more time for specific questions by you. And the topic I'm going to discuss today with you, and my experience, which I'm going to present to you, is how do I think a speech should be structured. We are here in a youth leadership program, young people that want to improve their uh, communication abilities, their skills, and their leadership. And you are followed by Toastmasters, and we are member of a club called Toastmasters, which you all know. And in Toastmasters, we have entered with curiosity and with high hopes. And in a short time, we have learned some lessons on how to communicate, how to deliver a good speech. So, what I'm telling you is not a class, is my personal experience of what I learned in Toastmasters on how to be effective when I have to speak to an audience. A big audience, small audience, colleagues, students of a youth leadership program, fellow members of my club, social speak in an association or in a sporting meeting, somewhere where I have to tell something to an audience, hopefully leaving a mark with what I'm saying. So my structure of today's speech is the following. First of all, I will touch the subject of why you speak. What is the purpose of giving a speech? And secondly, I will discuss about the structure, the contents, and the package in which you build in the concepts or the message or the emotions you want to convey with your speak. So let's start with the purpose. First of all, before I deliver a speech, I always reflect on why I am making this speech. For instance, today I'm delivering this speech to an audience of young YLP fellows because I want to share with you my personal experience on how to deliver the speech. So this is my purpose, my goal. Make sure when you prepare your speech that first of all you focus on what is your purpose, what is your goal in deliver, what do you want to achieve from your audience, what do you want to deliver to your audience through the speech you're giving. And this is point number one. Many times I see people preparing speeches without having this very clear. The second point is you have a purpose, you are thinking to build a speech, but the speech you deliver has to be uh, focused to the audience where you are delivering this speech. The same contents is different if I speak to my family, to my work associate, to the young people of the YLP, to my fellow members in the club. For a toast on a marriage, I can give the same message, but the way I convey, the way I give the message needs to be strictly connected and focused to the audience. Why? Because the reason you're doing the speech is not to please yourself, but to leave the audience with something worthwhile. So when you prepare the speech, you need to understand your goal, but you need to be very generous towards the audience because the main purpose of your speech is telling the audience something, leaving the audience with a message. So, how do you, we say, connect to your audience? First of all, you need to understand the demographic, the composition of your audience. Sometimes I'm not a lecturer and I'm not a professor. Sometimes I do some educationals to business communities, to various people. And the first question I always ask is who is in the audience? Who are the people? What is their educational background, what is their profession. And this is very, very important. The second point is, if I want to convey a message to you, when I prepare my message, I have to focus on which are your expectations. What are the people in the youth leadership program in Istanbul expecting from somebody that is speaking about the structure of the speech? It is important what I want to convey to you, but it is even more important for me to try to understand and to imagine what is the expectation, because you are my clients in the speech and I need to give a speech up to your expectation. So the message is mine, but the expectations are with the audience. And the third important point on the audience from my angle is your audience expects you to tell an interesting story, to give you some context, but expects you to leave them with some takeaways, with something they can bring back home. So this is the part on the purpose of the speech. Let's go to the contents of the speech. I don't know if you have already experienced the pathos, the emotion of going on stage and delivering a speech. But anyway, a speech is composed by 3 sections. The first section is the opening of the speech. The opening of the speech is the moment you start, you capture the attention of the public, and you gain the interest necessary to follow you through. So the opening of the speech needs to be a great opening. A good quote, a statement, a good question. I have seen many speeches opening with a very trivial question. The question you open your speech with needs to be a true and interesting question. And in the opening, be concise and be very, very, very effective. Don't make long statements. Don't ask obvious or predictable questions, and possibly surprise your audience. I have seen some great starts done with music, with some object, with a pop-up object, or with a sign where you write a phrase and you show in front of the audience. Give a strong impression when you start. This is very, very, very important. Never start with apologies. This is my first time, I'm sorry, I'm very emotional. Never start saying, good morning, my name is Lino Sbraccia and I'm here to tell you. Give the strong statement and then you tell, good morning, I'm Lino Sbraccia. Why is the world so bad these days? If you follow me, I will give you some information. Good morning, my name is Lino Sbraccia and I'm here to tell you blah, 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 blah. Okay? So, strong statement at the beginning. The body of the speech. I have seen many, many times people trying to put too much information inside their speech. The speech needs to be clear, concise, effective. Maximum 3 main points, okay? And for each point, you give a statement. Possibly, you give also some personal experience. Don't be a textbook that just gives quotes and statements. Try to build in the speech your personal experience, how that statement impacted into your life, which emotions in a certain situation that statement gave to you. This is very, very important to capture the interest of the audience. So, opening, body, and in the body try to shrink the contents and to give few clear statements. The last part of the speech is the closing. A speech is opening and closing are the most important part of the speech, are the parts that people remember. So in the closing, possibly link to the opening you did. Again, a quote, a strong personal experience, something that that is short but is also very, very powerful and effective. So to make a short recap, the purpose of your speech is your goal, but is what your audience expects from you from that speech. And this is most important when you build up the speech. Then, in the structure of the speech, strong opening, possibly surprise your audience with the opening. Don't be predictable there. The body, which should be the meat of the speech, but should be very well organized in a few clear, straight points. And the closing, that is a situation where you make an impact. I will stop there, 12 minutes, so we have gained 3 minutes on the schedule. And I would love to get some questions or some comments from you attending this meeting. Thank you. And please don't be shy. Use the opportunities, because you have set high goals. One of the way of achieving the goals is being curious and asking a ton of questions.
Actually, I do have a question. Can I ask about the rhetoric questions that we ask the audience in the start of the speech? What characteristics do they have, and can you give some examples to them?
Sorry, can you repeat, because I missed the first part of your question?
Oh, sure. So I have questions about the rhetoric questions that we ask at the start of our speech. So can you give examples of it and kind of like share the characteristics of a rhetoric question?
Okay, today's speech, I start saying, have you ever thought about how important is the structure of your question? This is a very trivial, predictable, and rhetoric question. If I ask you, have you ever thought on how good you can be if you impress your audience when you start a speech? This is much different from what I have said. It's like saying, what is the weather like today? Okay, or making a question that makes some sense and is relevant and makes the audience curious. Never ask questions that are obvious, because the audience is not interested. Ask a question that is relevant to the audience. And one little trick I can add is, if you ask the question and you don't give the answer immediately, but you give it the answer within your speech, so ask the question, then you start your speech. In the middle of the speech, you answer the question, or you give your answer to the question you have started. The people will stay there and being focused because they are curious to know the answer of the question.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yes, please. Yeah, I was giving the chance to the YLP students, but I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Saying that, you know, you should structure your speech according to the audience and like work on it beforehand, knowing who your audience is to deliver the right message. What if you have an audience with an array of people with different backgrounds, different ages, and you have to prepare a generic speech? What will be the question to surprise the audience from different backgrounds? What would you do in a situation like that? Thank you.
Well, it depends on what is the subject you're touching. Okay, when I prepared my icebreaker, all of you students know what is the icebreaker. Okay, I decided to start my icebreaker singing a song with some music. And people were, I mean, a famous song in Italy okay, which was related to my speech, by the way. And the way it was related by the speech made my closing. So I thought I start with some music, singing a song, which is quite unusual in the Toastmasters world. I tell my story, I tell about me, and at the end, I go back to the song, making people understand how the song was related to the story I told. So the people started with a song that had no relation to the rest of the tale, but at the end of the tale, I went back to that and I sang the song. And I mean, people remember my icebreaker, believe it or not. It could be, as I said, an object, a prop. Okay, it could be a sign where you write a phrase, but try to be original in that, because people do not, I mean, people come to the Toastmasters meeting and they always see a guy standing up asking the no a question at the beginning. And if you are not very original in the question, I think it's better, my personal opinion is better to do something different, because then, that's the guy that sang the song.